I know we've been talking about the AI thing a lot, but it's gonna keep happening. I'm sorry. There's really not a way that I can get around it because shit just keeps happening. And to be fair, this is not new shit. This is shit from a few months ago, but it is still shit nonetheless. So let's go ahead and talk about that shit. But before we do that, I want to show you guys a bit of fan art. There's a golden Suris from Golden Week, and this one comes from Tzor. And you know what? Yes, absolutely yes. Golden Week's always interesting because I never expect things to happen, and then people always end up just throwing a ton of Golden Week art at me. There's another one we'll talk about in the next video. So, yeah, no, thank you very much, Tzor. As always, if you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, then please drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. That said, I apologize if I have to pause a bunch during the recording of this. Unfortunately, the food that I just ingested is making my brain say that I have a cold now, even though I don't. I don't know. It was just grilled chicken smothered in Tabasco on mashed potatoes. I guess that's enough to make my stomach throw things back up. That said, apologies aside, I need to apologize for one more thing, and that's this dumbass right here.
We see a future where intelligence is a utility, like electricity or water, and people buy it from us on a meter and use it for whatever they want to use it for.
So, can we talk about that? There's more in here besides just that, but that's dystopian. So when I was a kid and I was reading dystopian novels, this is what it was like. This is the kind of shit that was said in them. One of those novels, it wasn't a capitalist dystopia so much as it was just a different like technological dystopia, was Devil on My Back. If any of you have not read that novel, it's a good one. It's an old one, but the concept of it is pretty simple. There's our main character, POV character, they are a child, and you follow them as they are growing up in their society. Their society is one where people are, quote, weighed down by knowledge. They all have surgical implants put into their shoulders when they are born, and as they grow older, they are allowed to put in more functionally USB drives. They describe something that you and I would understand to be a USB drive, but this book predates USB technology. But they would basically put these USB drives into their shoulders, and that would give them access to a certain amount of information. So, like how you and I would go through the school system and they would decide, hey, we're going to talk about the Trail of Tears today, you're going to learn that, there would be a set amount of curated knowledge that would be allowed to be accessed by you depending on your age and your station. And so the older you get, the heavier these were, and you were considered quite literally weighed down by knowledge. And while the story does do a nature versus technology thing where the guy leaves and falls in love with a girl who's actually out in like the real world with grass instead of being in their technological dystopia, it is still a fascinating idea of living in a world where information is... In that world, it was not considered a commodity, it was considered a necessity, but it was doled out almost like a commodity. So, hearing Sam talk about that, it just flashes me back to that book and how their society was one of basically dogma. It was very, very easy to get people to just agree with whatever the state's dogma was in their society because the amount of information that you were allowed to have was completely handled by them. Likewise, with Sam Altman, having information put on a meter that you can access if you are willing to pay them an amount of money, as if it's a utility, as if knowledge wasn't a fucking human right, it reeks of the same thing, because then they would be able to curate the amount of stuff that you would actually be able to see. Think about how an AI chatbot works right now. Let's say that you are using ChatGPT and you want to program something. Now imagine that Sam Altman says, oh, yeah, no, if you want this to tell you code, that'll be $5. Or say you were using it and you're using it basically as a search engine. You are looking for a website. Sam Altman goes, oh, cool, that'll be $1.50 for the search engine. That'll be $1.50 for the book summarizing feature. That'll be $1.50 for you pretending this thing will be a therapy session, and so on and so forth. Literally the same way that we operate with electricity right now. That sounds fucking dystopian to me from the perspective of a person who is used to being able to just open up Google and look up information and then read it. Having that information be curated and held by a central finite industry is terrifying as balls to me, because that is a world where people will end up being nightmarishly stupid. We already deal with people being incredibly dumb in the year of our Lord 2026, but that problem only gets worse when you deny access to information, and you deny access to information by putting a fucking price tag on it.
The demand that we see for that seems like it's going to continue to just go like this. A CEO of a major company, a president of a major country, a Nobel Prize-winning scientist, when can they not do their job without making heavy use of AI? This doesn't mean that there will be an AI CEO or an AI president, but it does mean that the role of, let's say, a human CEO, when I think about my job, it's really quite different. You still do need a person to stand behind decisions and kind of exercise human judgment and all of the understanding that we expect out of someone running an important organization.
He's trying so hard to make it sound like there's literally anything to his job. He is trying so hard to fluff up, I sit in a chair and buy ideas from other people and then pay other people to execute on those ideas. That's all he is. That's all he's doing. That's all a CEO ever fucking does. They don't come up with the ideas themselves. They pay somebody to do that. They don't execute the ideas themselves. They pay somebody to do that. If there is one cog in the machine, two cogs in the machine, that are completely unnecessary for a machine to work, the CEO and, by extension, the owner of the capital are the two cogs in the machine that are not required for the damn thing to fucking function.
To do, but the actual parts of my role that I will increasingly have to rely on an AI to do, because no human can. No human CEO can talk to every employee at a company.
Yes, they can. I worked for Quick Trip. That's what Chet did. Yes, a CEO can talk to every employee in the company. It's called having a meeting. Yes, they can talk with them. That's literally why the CEO of Quick Trip travels state to state all the fucking time, having conferences that every single employee is allowed to go to. Now, if you're trying to say, oh, well, they can't have a one-on-one conversation with everybody, who cares? You're the least important cog in that machine.
Customer, be in every meeting, be an expert in every field. And so...
You don't have to be an expert in every field, my guy. You're already fucking not.
More and more, I think, of these jobs will be supervising a bunch of AI, providing oversight, deciding how to trust the outputs, how to provide guidance.
So let me get this straight. You do not believe that you are capable of talking with everybody in your staff. Cool, that's a problem with scale. Capitalism, something, something. You do not believe that you can be an expert in every field. But you do believe that an army of robots can do it, and you could supervise all of those armies of robots who have more expertise than you and more capabilities than you. You believe that you can do better than the robot, then what the fuck is the point of the fucking robots? Why do we need them, then? Why do you need AI to be something more than just a fucking language-generating toy or a language processor? Why do you need it to be every expert in every field all the fuck at once? SKT says, isn't not having to be an expert in every field kind of the point of bureaucratic management? Yeah, it's almost like the reason that you are a manager instead of the expert in the field is so that you could be the person who's telling the experts in the field what they need to be doing. They have all the knowledge, you are just supposed to be guiding them in how to do that. But again, of course, the CEO doesn't do that. Somebody else does that. They delegate that as well. So he's simultaneously the least important part of the pipeline, but simultaneously, he must be the final endpoint of the pipeline. So, who here is a Star Wars fan? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know here. I'm going to talk about Star Wars for a minute. And also, if you haven't subscribed already to this channel or to Suris Live or to Third Space Arcade, whenever an episode of that actually can come out, and also Suris MTG, please consider subscribing to all of those channels or support on Patreon, anything. But I want to go ahead and talk about Star Wars for a nanosecond. The Darth Plagueis novel. For those who have not read the Darth Plagueis novel, if you've seen Episode 3 of Star Wars, you know that Darth Plagueis was hinted to be Palpatine's master that was killed. And yes, actually, that is what happens in the Darth Plagueis novel. You get to be there as Plagueis is the POV character, and halfway through the novel, POV character switches to Palpatine instead, because the actions of Palpatine start to become more important than the actions of Hio Damask, or, Darth Plagueis. Now, during the course of this book, Darth Plagueis sets up a billion things. He's a corporate CEO, by the way. That's what he is. He's immune. He's part of the banking plan. He's literally the fucking corporate CEO. That is his job. He sets up everything so that Palpatine can succeed. Because as far as he's concerned, that he's a Dark Lord, and that Dark Lord down there is his go-to guy, and they are gonna rule the galaxy together. And then, of course, in the end of the book, when Palpatine ultimately does, spoilers, kill Darth Plagueis. I know, none of you saw that coming. Revenge of the Sith happened 2 fucking decades ago, by the way. Feel old. At the end of the book, one of the things that Plagueis specifically one of the things that Palpatine specifically monologues to Plagueis as he's killing him is Hio Damask, who in his arrogance was so certain that he was the most important part of the grand plan, forgot to leave a space for himself at the table before he killed him. So, obviously, in this particular analogy, in this scenario, Sam Altman is the Darth Plagueis here, the guy who believes somehow that he is the most important part of all of this, but he can't articulate what his goddamn job is to anybody, but he also thinks that despite the fact that he can't have expertise in a billion fields, he can oversee a bunch of robots that have expertise in a billion fields. He's Plagueis. That's what he is. And there is no final episode of The Acolyte to make us feel like we should care about you anymore.
And that threshold of when you really wouldn't want to be doing your job, running a large organization without heavy reliance on AI, I think that's another sort of interesting threshold. That may take a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny? When he sits here and waxes lyrical about how necessary AI is going to be, or how necessary AI is for this job, but like, we've lived in a world without artificial intelligence for, guys, how long has humanity been a thing? Because the Young Earth creationists keep telling me it's like 6,000 years old, and I seem to think that they're probably incorrect, actually. Man, guys, I'm just curious. If Kent Hovind uses ChatGPT, do you think that it tells him the Earth is 6,000 years old, or do you think he convinces ChatGPT to suck his dick on that and point out that the Earth is actually younger than it's supposed to be? I'm just curious. Ansel says, that isn't old. Old is, I saw the premiere of A New Hope at the drive-in. Anselin, we salute you. First to watch Star Wars, first to die. Axo says, killing them woke they, them in my Star Wars? Oh my god. Professional D-bag. Nerd, who watches Star Wars? That shit is woke ass. Everyone knows that Star Trek is better. Star Trek doesn't have woke B. That's so funny. They have to be trolling. There's no way they're not. Man. Anybody watch Next Generation? Smacker says ChatGPT always sucks you off no matter what you ask of it. Yeah. Don't worry, it's going to tell Kent Hovind he's the smartest smarty boy.
But probably not a lot longer.
And as you do your job, how much are you finding yourself relying on some of the agents and some of the artificial intelligence that we're developing at OpenAI?
It's ramping incredibly quickly. If I have like a new idea...
He's struggling to talk about this so much. Guy, just admit that your technology doesn't do shit as well as you think it does, and stop trying to hide behind the fact that you think that it's important.
For a business model, a strategy shift, a product offering we should do, the very first thing I do before I even bounce it off somebody else is to ask our tools. And as they get more context, I think this really is like the next big thing to happen, as they can get close to full context of our company.
All right, so as somebody who's been dabbling in AI stuff recently, because I wanted to do videos on this and have a better understanding of how the technology works, when you say context, do you mean context the way that you and I, human beings, understand context, where it's they understand everything that matters? Or is it context the way that AI context functions, where there is a limited amount of tokens that the AI can utilize at any given point, where its memory is able to scrape what is in that bit of data in order to gain what it calls context. And for that, if you reach context, that means that the AI is no longer able to scrape data and it starts hallucinating fucking nonsense. By the way, just going to point it out there, having messed with these tools a little bit, the people who get hallucinations probably mean that they're overusing the technology, which means you're addicted. Get off of your goddamn phone. Please, I'm begging you, go talk to a real person. The chatbot's not real. The chatbot's not going to suck your dick. It's going to roleplay like it can, but go actually have a relationship. I beg of you.
Access to all of our internal docs, communication, code, customer data, everything. The quality of the answers, thought, whatever you want to call it, gets better and better.
Right. Okay. So let's shift.
I'm suddenly reminded violently of the dude who founded Character AI, who said that his conversation with the AI on sentience was one of the most profound conversations he had ever had, or Richard Dawkins sucking off Claude for the same reason. This is a tech that basically says, here, let me Google it for you sometimes. There are uses for it, but like pretending that it's going to be the best curator of all things ever, and it's going to replace everything in all the fields. It feels like you're trying to sell the idea of your technology to other people as hard as possible.
A little bit. 2 weeks ago, you announced a $110 billion funding round. I asked ChatGPT.
Why did you ask ChatGPT?
How does that compare to any other fundraising that's been done in the public markets?
I actually don't know.
4 times as large. Okay, the largest public offering ever done was roughly $25 billion that Aramco did several years ago. And the public markets are supposed to be the broadest and deepest sources of capital. Okay, 3 strategic partners: Amazon, NVIDIA, and SoftBank. Tell us a little bit about this. How is this an inflection point of the company? And one of the questions somebody asked is, what are we spending all that money on?
We're spending it so that Sam Altman can pretend that he's building God. Oh, by the way, that's another thing that maybe we should talk about. For some reason, Sam and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, they believe that machine learning is what will ultimately get us to generalized AI, and they believe that it is an eventuality that we will get there, so they need to be the ones that get us there first. Now, I have a tinfoil hatted theory, and that is that every single one of these people is desperately scared of Roku's basilisk. Maybe it's just a like pie in the sky thought, but I feel like every single one of these people is so goddamn terrified of Roku's basilisk specifically that they think that if they're not the person to create AM, when somebody else creates AM, they're going to be one of the 5 people in I have no mouth but I can't scream.
There's many hard parts of this business, but one of the hardest ones is the infrastructure is so expensive. You need so much of it, and you have to commit so far in advance.
The only reason that you need so much of it is because you're trying to sell the pipe dream that everybody needs this technology in their lives when they don't. The average person can gain as much information from randomly scouring YouTube as they will from ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is not always going to give you information that's actually accurate. Then again, you could end up on a quartering video and find about the same amount of accuracy in anything he's saying.
I have never seen any other industry quite like this. I mean, there have been clearly many capital-intensive industries throughout history, but as I look at what's to come in front of us.
Bohemian Lucy says Roku's Basilisk. So Roku's Basilisk is a thought experiment where there is a general AI called Roku's Basilisk, and Roku's Basilisk is able to tell if you took efforts to bring it into existence. And it is like Am and I Have No Mouth But I Must Scream. It is a very, very self-centered, generalized AI. It is borderline evil, and it will kill or torture anybody who does not bring it into existence, who did not take time to bring it into existence, somehow, some way. And if you either were neutral on bringing it into existence, then you were just not it's not that you were just not helping at that point. As far as Roku's Basilisk is concerned, if you were neutral on bringing it into existence, you were actually making it come into existence slower, because you could have been helping Roku's Basilisk. The only people who get to live are the people who make Roku's Basilisk, who actually participate in the building process of Roku's Basilisk. Everybody else that does not want to build general AI God dies. That's the concept of Roku's Basilisk. So if you and I right now you're watching a video about how AI bad in its current form, and I'm a guy on the internet saying that there's tools that AI can, or there's things that AI can do, but most of the time it's just a goddamn toy and not much more, both of us would be killed. Both of us would be killed by Roku's Basilisk. You are ingesting knowledge that is anti-AI, therefore you are not participating in creating of Roku's Basilisk. I am actively harming Roku's Basilisk coming into existence. Skit says, I would happily get tortured by the stupid computer snake. Right, but Skit, your personal fetishes are not what we're talking about today.
In future years.
Professional D-Bag says, who actually listens to the quartering? Not trolling, genuinely asking. So the thing is, I have had friends in the past who used to watch a decent bit of the quartering. So I know that at least a couple people in my life used to watch them a lot. I know that Stuttering Craig, a guy who influenced my life a lot as I was growing up, watched a lot of quartering content and thought that it was very informative, to the point where he actively basically tried to hold an intervention for Jeremy when his alcoholism started making him fight with everybody on the goddamn planet. So I can at least name a person in my personal life and a person who was helped be formative for my professional life, whom I don't know, but has a large following and therefore can take those ideas and proliferate them. I can think of two people on completely opposite rungs who took the things that Jeremy Hambley said seriously. So that's enough sample data for me to go, okay, there's probably more. And his subscriber count would guarantee that there's probably more.
If the ramp stays as steep as it looks like it is right now, the demand is growing as fast as it's growing, you have to do some pretty unusual things. OpenAI does a lot of things that look weird. We spend a ton of money.
Like make a data center and force a power company to power the data center instead of a town in Lake Tahoe? Making 50,000 residents unable to power their homes or power the hospitals or anything, effectively meaning that there is a non-zero amount of bodies that are associated with this. Is that a weird thing that OpenAI is doing? Because I think that's a weird thing OpenAI is doing.
Money on infrastructure in advance of revenue. We do new business models like ads that seem like, maybe not the most profitable thing we could do. A long list of other things, but we have this fundamental belief in abundance of intelligence. And that one of the...
No, you don't. You don't have a fundamental belief in abundance of intelligence because you want to ration intelligence. You want to commodify intelligence. You don't believe in an abundance of intelligence. You believe that intelligence is a commodity to be packaged and sold. You've said as much.
Most important things in the future is that we make intelligence, to borrow an old phrase from the energy industry that didn't quite work, too cheap to meter. We want to flood the world with intelligence. We want people to just use it for everything. We want this to just be something that the future generation doesn't think about.
So let me get this straight. You want to put a meter on intelligence, but you want to make it too cheap to meter. You know that it's already too cheap to meter right now, right? Google doesn't cost anybody a dime for the most part. It's an advertising platform. Like I can just go Google a thing. I can go to DuckDuckGo or Bing, God help you. Books exist. They're at the library for free. It's already unmetered. You are not revolutionizing anything. Every single thing you are suggesting already exists.
They expect everywhere, and everybody has access to geniuses, as many as they need in any area that they need. And this principle, which is one of our kind of top guiding principles, does lead to a lot of behavior that would look less natural for other companies. And one of those is we really want to get out of this world that we have been in, that we still think we're on a trajectory to stay on without changing what we do, of always being capacity constrained.
Right. And capacity constrained, you mean compute?
Yeah.
And I've often heard you say a lot that compute is revenues. You want to talk a little bit about how you think about that?
Fundamentally, our business, and I think the business of every other model provider, is going to look like selling tokens. They may come from bigger or smaller models, which makes them more or less expensive. They may use more or less reasoning, which also makes them more or less expensive. They may be running all the time in the background trying to help you out. They may run only when you need them if you want to pay less. They may work super hard.
They might be able to run in the background of your life right now. Professional D-Bag says, you realize these assholes want to get rid of libraries and make us stupider? Yeah, no, I understand that. I completely understand that, Professional D-Bag. I know. There's a reason that we've had things like education funding gutted. There's a reason that we've had things like libraries fundings gutted. And it is so that we have to become more reliant on that tech. Tech that, again, could be so much cheaper for everybody if they weren't trying to fucking scale it into goddamn oblivion. And it wouldn't even be a problem for everybody anymore if after making sure that it was cheaper by not scaling it into oblivion, you also didn't say stupid fucking statements like, we're going to have it running in the background of your life, helping you do everything you're doing. Guys, I saw an advertisement yesterday for Meta glasses. Meta glasses. Who the fuck needs Facebook glasses? But you know what they were? A tool to put AI in your head. That's what it was. That's exactly what it was. It is the idea of having Meta glasses that will be able to scan the environment around you, and it'll also be a fashion statement. So, why would I need that? So they want the machine to do thinking for us, so we're too stupid to revolt, and critical race theory plus gender ideology, whatever that means, is the distraction to allow them to do it. Yeah, I understand that. That's also a way to destabilize the United States for techno-feudalism and for Russia. Both of those things. Russia, there was an MI6 document that was uncovered about using gender ideology stuff as a way to create wedge issues for America that would help destabilize us and stop us from being united. And techno-feudalists that want to carve up America into a bunch of little micronations, Ayn Rand style, those also want to do the exact same thing. Fennec says, I prefer using my own brain. Yeah, I don't understand why you would need this. Phones already exist. Brutalist architecture. The world's most advanced AI glasses. And really, all it's doing, all the glasses are doing, is giving you the ability to do the things you already do on your phone, but now you look stupid doing them. When Google Glass was announced, I wanted to give it a try, but they were too expensive. And now I really don't see the benefit at all to using the tech, especially because, think about this. So it seems like a great way for more people to be distracted while driving too. Distracted while driving, and another one, a complaint that I saw people have about the Google Glass, which I think happened here too, is not only is every single thing that you're looking at ever now tracked and sold as data to somebody else later, but you personally using this now can invade people's privacy even more. You see, I have to look really fucking obvious if I wanted to be a creeper on a subway train and use a phone, right? If that is something that you truly wanted to do with your life, and, you know, you deserve prison for trying it, but if you really wanted to be a creeper in life, you gotta actually pull out the phone and use it to do that. But if it's attached to your head, then it's way easier to be a fucking creeper and take pictures of, I don't know, people's children, shit that you shouldn't be doing in the first place. But it is very, very frustrating to think of not only the ways that this technology is going to be used to invade your personal life, my personal life, but the ways that individual users can then use this technology to creep on others.
You know, spend tens of millions, hundreds of millions, someday billions of dollars on a single problem that's really valuable. But we see a future where intelligence is a utility, like electricity or water, and people buy it from us on a meter and use it for whatever they want to use it for.
Remember, make it so cheap that it can't be metered. but I want them to buy it from us on a meter. I want them to buy the tokens for this, for us. Why? Why? By the way, this is why ChatGPT is free. It's free for anybody to use until it says that, oh, we need to use a weaker model now for a little bit. But if you pay us some money, you can use a stronger model the entire time. There's a reason it does that. It's to hook you. Give you a little bit of the taste of the glorified Google engine and then hook you. And especially if you're somebody that feels like you're going to need it in your professional life for one reason or another, it's an easy sell at that point for those people. FedEx says there was also Discord about meta glasses in the context of things like swingers and kink clubs. Yeah, no, that's just a way to... Hold on. Let me catch myself. Because at MomoCon, from what I understand, there was a orgy. There's lots of orgies that happen, lots of sex parties that happen at conventions. And a method that people have used in the past to protect themselves is recording every interaction that happens at one of these areas. So that if somebody tries to come out and say, cancel them, they can then say, well, actually, no, I have it on recording that you consented to X, Y, and Z, so you don't actually get to ruin my life because of this. So I agree with you, Fennec. I do. But I also know that there are creators right now that make sure to record all their interactions when they are in one of those situations on a phone so that somebody does not use that information to try to ruin them later. So I can see two sides to that. But by having it be in the glasses instead of on the phone, it does make it a little less obvious that somebody is recording that, and that is an invasion of privacy still. Said Meta doesn't need to know what folks folks do during a private moment. Right, they don't need to know, but if I record that on my phone, in order to make sure that there is nothing bad that happens to me later, Google gets access to that either way. Like, they can pretend that that information is, like, sacred and it's not going to go anywhere, but you and I both know that's not the case. Professional D-Back says, oh, these are the perv glasses that allow people to harass women easier. Yep, that's what they are. So at least I can consent to a phone recording. True, and that's where my line is that with the phone, we at least have to have a conversation now. Because once you pull the phone out, I understand that you're doing something, and I can understand why you're doing it.
The demand that we see for that seems like it's going to continue to just go like this. And if we don't have enough, we either can't sell it, or the price gets really high,
yep,
and it kind of goes to rich people, or society makes a bunch of sort of central planning decisions that I think almost always go badly about, we're going to use our limited compute supply for this and not that. So the best thing...
Central planning. Did you catch that, by the way? Sometimes society uses central planning, which I think always goes poorly. That is a dig at every single person who has a leftist ideology of anything. He thinks that privatizing industry is always the answer. That is the subtext to what he is saying there. Privatizing industry is always the answer. When we centrally plan stuff in any way, shape, or form, then that is bad. So if you centrally plan healthcare, libraries, anything like that is bad. Private, good.
To me, throughout all the history of capitalism, innovation, whatever you want, is to just flood the market.
Yeah.
So now, I am now curious about what people are saying in the comment section of this video. Let's see what's being said there, because I gotta know. I'd pay to get rid of AI crap from my computer and my YouTube feeds. Based. How foolish of us. Those who have been born with a functioning brain. Yes, what other fools we were. What other fools we were to use a brain at all. So he wants to hold the key and then make everybody dependent? Yes, that is what he's trying to do. Said smart people don't want it, dumb people get hurt using it. Buy yours today. Said the word but is the scariest part of the clip so far.
Important organization to do, but the actual parts of my role that I will increasingly have someone running an important organization, understanding that we expect out of someone running an important organization to do, but the actual parts of my role that I will increasingly have to rely on an AI to do, because no human can. No human can talk to no human.
Remember, no human can, but humans have done for years. Humans have handled this for years, but, you know, magically we can't now. No, hear me out. I'm all for this. Let's treat it like utility on a meter. That way, all you have to do is not pay the AI bill, and not only do you not have to deal with the AI being forced into everything, but you're actively locked out of its usage. Absolutely perfect if you don't want AI in your stuff. No, I'm not okay with it, because if you do that, if you try to make it a utility that is metered, then you are also inadvertently trying to make it to where it is the only thing that can operate. Case in point, Google doing this. So I understand where the commenter's coming from, saying that, oh, yeah, let it be metered so that we can drain their money. That doesn't fucking work. And this is why it's not going to fucking work. Check this out. Google, the company who has been known for years to be the search engine company, are planning on getting rid of their search engine as we understand it and replacing it with the AI suggestion feed. Right now, you get the AI suggestion feed first, and then you get search results. But instead of returning a simple list of links, Google Search will drop users into an AI-powered interactive experience at times. Google is also introducing tools that can dispatch information agents to gather information on a user's behalf, along with tools that let users build personalized mini-apps tailored to their needs. Because just utilizing Google to find things was not good enough. They want to have a reimagined intelligent search box. The resulting experience will no longer look like how people envision a Google search, which has been defined by ranked lists to websites that have the information you need. With the revamped search experience, the new search box simply expands to accommodate larger, more conversational queries, rather than making you decide what type of a search experience or mode you want to choose at the start of your query. It will also have an AI-powered query suggestion system that goes beyond autocomplete to help people craft more complex and nuanced queries. Yep, the enshittification of Google continues. They want to change currently understood and existing technology, and they want to monopolize that technology such that you are dependent on the AI technology, which is really just a large language model. It's not actually AI. Why? Fuck you, that's why. Obviously, you want to just go and get on Janitor AI and not think about anything for the next few hours. You want to talk with your waifu who will never tell you no, because why would the robot ever want you not to come back, so that you don't think about the war in Iran that we are in right now and the gas prices that you have to spend a lot of money on. Don't got to spend that money if you're just talking to your AI chatbot waifu, right? I'm so depressed, guys. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.